This is John McIntyre. The library here in Zanesville was named after him. He was one of the founding fathers of Zanesville. This is his wife, Betty Zane McIntyre. This was done a few years after he died, where her painting was done when she was 81 years old, so she looks much older. She remarried after he died in 1815. Well, he was one of the founding fathers. His father-in-law, which would have been her father, hired him to help build Zane's Trace. She was the Zane's daughter, okay? When he met her, he was 29, she was 14. And then when they get married, Colonel Zane said no, they'd have to wait till she turned 15. So he would be 30 years old and she would be 15 years old when they got married in the 1790s, okay? He would die in 1815. She would live much, much longer. They never had any biological children together. She never had any children. He did. He had a daughter by another lady. And when he died, half of his estate went to his wife, and the other half went to his daughter. And when the daughter died in 1819 without any children, and she wasn't married, then the estate went to the children of Zanesville in perpetuity. Everything in this room was made by business in Zanesville. The Civil War in the very end, he was from Zanesville. It's Colonel Geithner. Actually, he's wearing a uniform of the Ohio National Guard after the Civil War, which he was a colonel. He saw action in the last year of the war. Muscatine County sent 3,000 men to fight. Collection of cordial glasses, and that's a mold to make pottery. It was made in this area. Zanesville had more than 30 brick-making yards, so a lot of these bricks at the top here are made, well, they're all made in Zanesville. Zanesville was the state capital of Ohio. We have a copy of the Senate Journal from 1810 through 1811. We have a copy of the Ohio House Journal from 1811. Then we have various documents here. Most of these are land grants to veterans of the American Revolutionary War, signed by different individuals that came here. We had 176 veterans are buried in Muscatine County. They got free land from the federal government. Madison, East Line. We've got a couple others. This is from the land office signed by John Quincy Adams. This was a little bit later, 1824. So we've got various documents representing that time period. Music that originated in Zanesville. This is Bicentennial Moon, and Lorena, who was kind of the darling of the Civil War time period. The author was from Zanesville. Howard Chandler Christie, I've got his names backwards, but he did the Uncle Sam I Went You portraits for the U.S. government for the draft, World War I, and many, many other advertisements. He's from the final area, and this was a drawing that he did of Mrs. Taylor and the piano. We keep it colored because color gets faded. This building was originally built in 1809 to be the state capital of Ohio. There was a rivalry to have one on this side of the river and one on the Zanesville side of the river. This was originally Springfield, Ohio. John McIntyre, who served on the state legislature and helped write the Constitution, made sure the capital was built over there. Increase Matthew, or as one historian that spoke last year said, he built it with the idea that if we build it, they will come and build a capital here. It's never been the capital. And that's why the building was built. See, the front part here is the original. This comes apart. Who was found guilty of assassinating the leader of the French Reign of Terror. She stabbed him 27 times in the back when he was taking a bath. This was done by a man by the name of Howland. He was from Zanesville. He ran away out west to be a cowboy. Unfortunately, timing was bad. By the time he ran away, the cowboy era was coming to an end. Usually he paints Indians, but he was sent to Paris to study art, and this was his masterpiece. The top part here is from the 1832 White Bridge. The bottom seat is from the 1900 White Bridge, when it was torn down, replaced with concrete. People didn't waste things. They recycled wood of all kinds. The bottom is a table. These cutting blocks were made from previous white bridges. This is part of the bridge that was torn down. It was the first concrete steel one. It was rebuilt in the 1980s. The current bridge was built. He would build Zane's Trace, which was wide enough for two horses to pass together, but not a wagon. It would go from Wheeling, West Virginia, all the way to Maysville, Kentucky. Okay? And he was to maintain it. In return, he got 3 sections of land every time the trace passed over the rivers. And that became Zanesville, Lancaster, and Chillicothe. Okay? So then he had a right to sell that land. Of course, it'd be valuable because it's crossing over the river where the road is. McIntyre is quite a story. He was born in Alexandria, Virginia, 1856. His right leg was 3 inches shorter than his left. So he couldn't be a farmer. He was loading a musket, and when he loaded it, things often go wrong in the heat of battle. He was loading it, tapping it down, and the ramrod went off, and the bullet, and they both went through his wrist. Okay? Normally, they would have amputated his wrist and burned it shut with hot tar. And he said, what good's a one-handed cobbler? So he refused to have it amputated, but they had to pull it out. The ramrod was stuck in his wrist. They had to remove it, and then they tried to seal it up, but his nerves never healed, and his right hand never worked. So now you've got a guy whose one leg is shorter and his right hand is useless. So what can he do for a living? Well, his father-in-law found that he could run a boat, not so much a boat, but a raft across the river here using one arm on a rope and charge people to go back and forth, right? And he set up his home here, became his log cabin, became a trading post, a hotel, and of course he charged to move people across the river. And that's how I got started. It's a 1937 train, and this is a mock-up of the city of Zanesville. This would be our building right here, what it would look like in the 1840s. With a wide-covered bridge. B&O Railroad came here first. A long way to trade, get those flint arrowheads.